you ever dreamed of taking a European road trip as a family? Gliding through mountain ranges and winding through beautiful roads that open up into fjords with mountains? Well, this video is for you then. After living in Europe for 4 years and traveling almost every Western European country, usually by road in one form or another with my daughter, I have some amazing road trips that I highly recommend every family does at least one with their kids. This includes places like Ireland, Scotland, Portugal, Italy, France, and Spain. Some of my favorite road trips have happened throughout these countries, and I am here to share some of those with you. The reason why I love road trips through Europe is because you have flexibility, countryside, castles, tiny villages, roadside snacks that are absolutely amazing, and some unexpected detours that usually end somewhere in a vineyard. So today I'm sharing 6 of my favorite European road trips to do with your kids, plus some magical road trip tips that you might need along the way. If you haven't joined me before, hi, my name is Felicia, and I am also known as the Backpacker Mom, and I have traveled to more than 50 countries around the world, and more than 30 of those has been as a parent. I'm here to help share destination guides, travel tips, and also sharing some honest stories that have taught me a few things along the way that now I share with you. So buckle up, get some snacks, and let's dive into these 6 amazing European road trips to do with your kids. Road trip number 1. Dublin to Dingle, Ireland. This was the very first road trip that I did after having now 2 kids in the back seat. And I cannot recommend visiting Dingle, Ireland along that peninsula enough because it is one of the most magical, quintessential Ireland views and picturesque rolling green hills with dramatic cliff sides that you could possibly imagine. So 10 out of 10 would recommend visiting Dingle all by itself. But Dublin to Dingle is also an amazing road trip. So you would start in Dublin. After you fly in, obviously, I would recommend spending at least 2 days. Generally, I would recommend between 2 and 4 days when you're traveling with kids, so that way you can go a little bit slower. Then on your way out of Dublin, rent a car. Remember, they drive on the other side of the road and car, so don't let that overwhelm you. It's very, very doable. A great family route is taking the road from Dublin to Kilkenny, then to the Rock of Cashel, along the road through the National Park in Killarney, and then finally heading over to Dingle. This gives you a beautiful view that gives you castles, medieval streets, epic ruins, and then national park scenery. And then you end your road trip in one of the cutest little harbor towns along the peninsula in Dingle. Tip number 1. Remember, as I said before, you are driving on the other side of the car and the other side of the road. So for parents who are a little bit nervous drivers, maybe share the driving responsibilities with the less anxious driver. Once you get the hang of it, it really is a lot easier. But leaving Dublin can be a little anxious, so be sure to take your time. Also plan to leave Dublin during hours where the roads wouldn't be as busy. People heading to work, people going home from work, and weekends. So if you're able to plan your leaving Dublin midweek, around lunchtime, late morning, early afternoon, you're going to be good as gold. So be sure to give yourself some grace. You don't have to do the drive all in one day. You can, but it's a long day, and doing that with kids isn't enjoyable for anybody. And then you're not able to actually make the stops that you want to along the way. Get out of the car, explore the castles, these medieval streets, and all of the amazing things that Ireland has to offer. This drive I would recommend taking at least 4 days. Generally, I would actually recommend that you would do 7 going with kids, but you can do it very comfortably between 4 and 7 days, spending 1 night in each location. I would definitely recommend spending 2 nights in Dingle at least and 2 nights in Dublin. What you do between that time, as long as that works best for your family and your time off, I hope that works out for you. Road trip number 2, Edinburgh to the Scottish Highlands. We took this road trip in part of a larger road trip where we started in London and circumnavigated the entire island of the UK, starting in London and leaving out of Bristol. But one of my favorite parts of this drive was from Edinburgh to the Scottish Highlands, because it really does look like something straight out of a movie. A couple of them, actually. You would start your trip in Edinburgh, and I highly recommend spending at least 3 days in Edinburgh between visiting the castle, walking along the Royal Mile into all the different shops, and winding through some of those really, really narrow alleyways and finding some amazing treats along the way. Plus, for the Harry Potter fans, visiting the alley that inspired Diagon Alley. You actually are going to need more time than you think. Though the area is small, there's a lot to explore and a lot of history and food to experience. Just like with an Ireland, I don't recommend renting a car as soon as you land in the airport because you are not going to want to drive in these major cities. The cities are really, really hard to park in. Plus, you don't really need to drive in these places. They're so walkable, and public transportation is also very, very accommodating. So I recommend that once you're done with your time in Edinburgh, you rent your car on the way out. After you rent your car, then I recommend getting from Edinburgh to Stirling, Loch Lomond, Inverness, and then Loch Ness. These are all locations that are absolutely stunning. And I 100% told my husband that if he told me we had to move to the Scottish Highlands tomorrow, I would literally bring my camera kit, my daughter, and a backpack of stuff and just pick up and move that quickly because it is absolutely magical there. The dramatic hills, the vastly changing landscapes from these beautiful lochs of water to these rolling hills. It's just amazing. And then when you hit that morning with that fog that lingers at the bottom of the valley just long enough for you to enjoy your coffee, it is absolutely stunning. And then, of course, with my family, as we were driving around Loch Ness, my daughter and my husband were both sticking their heads out the window, yelling, "Here, Nessie, Nessie, Nessie." Wonderful memories that are going to last a lifetime. Trust me. But along this route, you are going to have amazing views of castles, ruins, these beautiful, rich colored waters of the lochs, waterfalls, and other locations where you can get out, explore, stretch your legs. You can even take a ski lift to the top of a mountainside. All of these things are along the route from Edinburgh to the Scottish Highlands. One reason I recommend Scotland for families, especially for this particular road trip, is because Scotland has adventure for families down to a T. Whether you just want to meander through some beautiful hills or valleys, or take a nice easy stroll to very, very adventurous mountain climbs and hikes, to enjoying boat rides through the lochs, diving into Scottish history with the castles, and reliving Braveheart. There's so much space for kids to be able to just explore and enjoy themselves, which makes this trip even better for parents as well. Now, practical road trips for Scotland. Just like Ireland, Scotland is on the opposite side of the car and on the road. So this is going to be one that I would recommend taking a little bit extra time and a little extra patience, especially when you're leaving Edinburgh. And because Scotland is so incredibly picturesque, if the route says it's going to take 2 hours, plan at least one additional hour because you are 100% are going to be pulling over for multiple photo opportunities, taking in lunch at a cafe, looking over one of the amazing lochs that you will be encountering along the route, and of course, just wonderful locations where you can just stop and stretch your legs. My next tip is also take advantage of the scenic pull-offs. They are worth pulling off for. Between stretching your legs and taking in the history, they're just amazing. Soaking in all of that view is part of the reason why you want to go on this road trip in the first place. The next tip is going to be pack layers. Best advantage of being able to do this trip in a car is that you have the ability to take just a little bit more stuff, though I still recommend packing light. You could have sunshine 1 minute and rain the next, so definitely pack layers. And because the Scottish Highlands are more mountainous than they are wooded, you're going to want to have a good water and wind protection layer. Road trip number 3, Algarve to the Douro Valley in Portugal. This is one of my absolute favorites, and I did this trip multiple times when we lived in Europe because you have the amazing beach towns and beach views and everything that goes along with a coastal town, and small coastal towns with amazing food, fresh seafood, and everything that comes with, all the way up to these rolling hills with these dramatic 45-degree angle drops covered in vineyards and farmlands in the Douro Valley. Portugal is one of my favorite countries to recommend to families. It gives you a little touch of everything between beaches, history, incredible food, warm hospitality for you and your kids, and the road trip route is really easy and very relaxing. This trip will start for you in Largos, in the Algarve region of Portugal. This is south of Lisbon. This is where your family can rent a beachside villa, coastal walks, grotto tours, and even pirate ship cruises, which was definitely a top tier for my kid. And then from here, you can work your way north to the Douro Valley. One reason why I love this route so much is because it shows families who especially love wine that visiting wine countries in Europe with kids is 100% doable. Because in Europe, they understand how the wine industry is a family tradition. So you will see multiple generations working in and around the winery while you're doing your tasting. Your kids are able to play, and many of them have areas they either have toys or wide open spaces where you can go and do tastings or just enjoy a glass of wine without ever worrying about that somebody is going to give you a side eye that you brought your kids to a winery. Here, they encourage it. Stops along the way, though, is, of course, I recommend that you stop in at least 2 of the small towns in the Algarve area. You have Largos that you can fly into, but I would also recommend heading towards the Spain side of Portugal and visiting one of my favorite towns of Portimão. This town is absolutely beautiful, and it's a great spot where you can enjoy beach walks, great food, adorable little shopping boutiques, and having some of the best fresh seafood that I have had. From here, you would head north. Of course, I would also recommend taking at least 2 days to go visit Lisbon, but then don't underestimate the teeny tiny town right next to there called Sintra. Either take an extra day in Lisbon and do a day trip over to Sintra, or move yourself and your home base with the kids over to Sintra and spend at least a day. Though Sintra is small, there is still an amazing amount of history and culture that you can experience in this tiny town. I would recommend, though, because parking is so tight and very, very limited on this mountainous town, that you would take a day trip over from Lisboa or Lisbon to Sintra. This way, you don't have to worry about taking your car. There is transportation via tour buses or using the train, and you're able to walk around. Now remember, though, Lisbon and Sintra are built like this, so bring good walking shoes. My big driving tip for my Algarve to Douro Valley road trip is pay attention to the toll roads. Don't let this overwhelm you. The tolls are very easy. Just you have to pay attention to which lane to pull into. I recommend personally just going through the pay lane. There's also a way that if you are entering from another country, when you're entering in through the toll roads, they charge everything by your license plate and the distance that that license plate goes. When you enter into the toll area, they take a picture of your license plate and you add a credit card. Then it just charges your credit card based on the distance that you're driving. It has all the rates, so you're not going to get a surprise, but it's much easier to do that than worrying about getting charged at the end of your car rental experience when you're checking it back in. Also, this route is built for family picnics. Trust me, and you have to do the pastries. The pastries, the pastel de natas, this is a national treasure when it comes to food for Portugal. So highly recommend going and getting just a bunch of food from like an Aldi's and packing up lunches so that you can enjoy it along the road at these amazing roadside turnoffs, these overviews, taking them to vineyards for wine tastings, but pack picnics. It is so worth it. And then once you get to the Douro Valley, make sure that you also do at least one river boat cruise along the Douro Valley itself. The history of that river is absolutely outstanding and would 10 out of 10 recommend even with kids. My 4th European road trip takes us to France. This is from Bordeaux, France, all the way up to Normandy. So for wine lovers and history lovers alike, this trip is absolutely for you. And believe it or not, it's also super family friendly. You get a great combination between food, history, castles, coastline, and a little bit of a, oh my God, are we actually visiting this major historical place? The answer is yes. And a lot of these places, you can do it with a great glass of wine too. Now, this route is a lot longer than some of the previous routes that I have shared. So take your time with this. I did it in a very, very short period of time. I would recommend making way more stops than I did because we rushed through and I felt like I missed quite a bit. So when I did it a second time, I took at least 5 days. I spent 3 days in Bordeaux and I spent 3 days in the Normandy area. We actually stayed at Mont Saint Michel and I spent several days in between. So my total trip the second time I took it was 10 days. The first time I took it, when I did the drive, I only stayed 2 days in Bordeaux and then I stayed 2 days up in Normandy, and it was too little time. So you start your time in Bordeaux. This town is absolutely incredible. It's very walkable. It's full of food and of course wine in every direction that you look around Bordeaux. And then you would work your way up to the Loire Valley, again, an incredible wine region in France and some of the best castles that you will find around the country. This is where the conglomerate of castles and chateaus are in France. There are more than 300 chateaus or castles in the Loire Valley just by itself. So take a few days because this area is worth spending at least 3 days. From the Loire Valley, it's a very easy drive up to Normandy. Here you can experience places like Mont Saint Michel and all the little villages around where D-Day happened. This means that there is an incredible tie between French and American history that is really, really fun to share with your kids. Speaking of kids, this area has a lot of kid-friendly things, even if you're going wine tasting. You can visit the Wine Museum, an interactive museum that your kids are recommended and encouraged to touch everything, smell everything, experience everything. And they actually give you a tablet that you can scan the QRs so they can be listening to things, seeing things, smelling, touching, all at the same time. So it's a parent's heaven. From don't touch that to please touch everything. In the Loire Valley, I also recommend visiting places like Chambord. Chambord is an incredible castle that also has shows that are history recreated for you, where you can see the history of the castle with live actors and horseback riding and jousting, and it is absolutely incredible and your kids will love it. Then you drive along up the hills and around the valleys and to the coast of Mont Saint Michel, which, if your kids have ever watched Disney, is the inspiration for places like the castle in Tangled. They got that inspiration from Mont Saint Michel, and it is absolutely magical from the base to the tip. And then, of course, Normandy, though heavy with history, also helps bring that history to life for kids, whether younger or older, even though that history, again, is very heavy, but it's also very important to teach to your kids along the way. And here they can do it in a hands-on experience. Now, my driving tip for this route is keep your credit card handy. Again, with the toll roads, this is a very easy tap and go, though. Every single time you hit a toll road, you can either go through the automatic pass, which you can set up with your rental car, or you can just do the automatic tap with your phone or your credit card going through these toll roads. One of my favorite places, though, and my best tip for doing road trips in France is take advantage of the roadside stops. These are not like normal trucker roadside stops that we have in the United States. These are elegant shopping malls with amazing locations for multiple food areas and shopping and small gyms where you can stretch your legs and coffee galore and the pastries and the patisseries and all of the wonderful things. Plus they have picnic tables and playgrounds where you can go stretch your legs, run off some energy, and it is set up to be the most family friendly absolutely possible. The French know how to take luxury into every aspect of life, including roadside stops, so don't sleep on them. My favorite. Road trip number 5. This one is seasonal, so if you want to do it, make sure that you book early because these places will book up very, very quickly for the Christmas market season. And that is the Alsace Christmas Market road trip. This one is one of my favorites just because I am a major Christmas nerd. Absolutely love Christmas, and being able to do a Christmas market road trip is one of my favorite things that we did when we lived in Europe, and I did it all 4 years that we lived there, including during COVID. This trip makes you feel like you've accidentally driven into a snow globe and a Hallmark movie at the same time. Experiencing Christmas markets firsthand is one of the absolute most magical things that you can do if you are a big Christmas nerd like me. Between things that you can buy, souvenirs, the food that you can taste, the smells all around the market, and the mulled wine that you can drink, it is 10 out of 10, would recommend over and over and over again. This route starts and stops in Strasbourg, which is also known as the French Christmas capital of the world. And I can tell you, they nailed it. It also takes you through towns like Colmar, which is one of my favorites and very Beauty and the Beast inspired, Igusheim, Kerouar, and Milhouse. These small, half-timbered house towns with twinkling lights and cozy markets and Christmas treats galore with hot cocoa and mulled wine is an absolute Christmas miracle full of magic. I love this route, especially for families, because one, of course, the towns are all going to be super walkable, but being able to experience Christmas markets in different towns is absolutely incredible, because in places like Strasbourg, there are at least 5 different markets, all with different themes within Strasbourg itself. Then as you continue out of town into places like Colmar or Milhouse, these all have their own different themes of Christmas markets. It's taking a Christmas passport and taking you through all of these different styled markets that really are unique in and to themselves. Now, my biggest tip for this is find a hotel location that includes parking that's close to one or several of the Christmas markets. When I visit Strasbourg, I always pick a hotel that's close to the main Strasbourg market. Now, I do that because it includes parking, so once I park, I don't have to move again, because parking, especially during Christmas markets, is a nightmare. Park once, walk. Again, with everywhere along this road trip, park once and walk. So always pick a hotel that has parking available and try and get it if it's included. Next, always make sure that you dress in layers when you are visiting Europe in the wintertime. And keep an extra pair of dry socks, because you never know if it's going to be raining or snowing or dry and cold. It's always good just to keep an extra pair of socks around. Trust me, I actually have video footage of us, my sister and I, visiting a Christmas market in Colmar, and we were enjoying mulled wine while I had my daughter's feet in between my legs to warm them up because her toes had gotten so cold because she did not bring the extra pair of socks. So we took a mulled wine break to warm up her toes. Last tip for this one is bring a reusable shopping bag. You're going to need it. Trust me, it's small, just bring it. Christmas markets are snack heaven, souvenir heaven, all of the heavens of things that you want to bring home with you. So leave room in your suitcase to bring home all the souvenirs and bring a reusable shopping bag so that way you have a place to put them. My last road trip is near and dear to my heart because this is where we lived for 4 years when we lived in Europe, and that is Andalusia, Spain. Andalusia is the southernmost region in Spain, and it is one that is absolutely worth a visit. You'll be able to experience everything from mountains to beaches, castles to cathedrals, and the food is bar none top tier. I'd recommend that you start on either end. Either you start in Malaga or Sevilla, then end at the opposite. So if you start in Malaga, end in Sevilla. If you start in Sevilla, end in Malaga. Along this route, you will visit locations like Granada, Ronda, Cordoba, if you're wanting some beaches. But then I lived in a small town called Chipiona. You can also visit locations along the Sherry Triangle if you want to experience our Andalusian fortified wine. So you can visit Jerez de la Frontera. No matter where you stop along the way, and I have a very long list, and I'll share some of my blog links below in the information for this video, so that way you can find some really amazing locations to stop along the way. But you really can't go wrong when you visit Andalusia and you have a car available to you, because it's the small towns, these Blanco villas, that are a major contributing factor to why this region is so amazing. Because Andalusia is warm and it's colorful and it's full of history and rich culture, and you get to have Moorish architecture with the history of the flamenco dance, plazas, orange trees, tapas, castles, mountains, beaches, and all of that in just one region in Spain. This route really works for kids and families because plazas are basically built for families, with a lot of room on the inside for kids to run off energy, with cafes strategically located on the outside where parents can enjoy a cafe, a cerveza, or vino. In Sevilla, you can take in the Alcazar, you can sign up for flamenco class, you can take a boat along the Plaza de España. In Cordoba, you can visit the famous mosque that's there, which is absolutely unforgettable. In Ronda, you have the dramatic cliff sides and this famous bridge. Granada gives you the Alhambra, tea shops, and winding streets that feel like a storybook that is deeply rooted in Moorish history in Spain. But there are a few things to keep in mind in Spain. Again, parking in old city areas is a little stressful. Look for underground parking. It's far easier to do that versus street parking. And parking lot parking is very, very rare inside of the heart of the city. So that's either going to be further out and harder to walk, or not a lot available for street parking. Look for underground parking garages. Or again, with the tip of look for hotels that have parking included with them. These are always great options for you to, again, park once, not move it again until you leave. Second, when you are in Spain, you have to adjust your daily rhythm. Everything happens later. Siestas are still 100% a thing. So you are not going to be able to find a lot to do between the peak hours of 2 and 4. Siestas are 100% recognized in most of the cities and towns, especially in Andalusia, because summer gets very hot. You don't want to be out. They don't want to be out. So if you're going in the summertime, also be aware. This is when you explore in the mornings, enjoy yourself in the mornings, also take a siesta in the afternoons, and then plan to be out quite late. Dinner is later, lunch is later. Lunch is basically dinner. Dinner is midnight snack, and your kids are up for all of it. It is not uncommon to see kids of small ages, including 2, 3-year-olds, running around the plaza at 10 o'clock at night with their parents, still chatting and enjoying life with a glass of wine, a cerveza, letting the kids run around before going home to going to bed. So with those tips in mind, I highly recommend booking at least 7 days for doing an Andalusian road trip, at least. Recommend more into the 10-day if you really want to experience it all and take slower days. But if you're on crunch for time, 7 days will do. Before I wrap this up, I want to share a few additional tips that every parent should know before hitting the road in Europe. First, always download your maps offline. Cell phone service can be just a little spotty, and you don't want to be possibly taking a wrong turn and not be able to find your way back because you have no cell phone reception. Offline maps is going to take a huge stressor off of your mind. Tip number 2 is always check the rules for car seats and booster seats in whatever country that you're doing your road trip in. If your current car seat for your infant or toddler or your booster for your older kids is not up to code within that country, you can experience some issues. So if you don't want to bring it with you and worry about that, I recommend just renting a car seat once you get here. I do this usually because I don't want to haul around a car seat with me, and it's only a few extra dollars a day to rent your car seat when you get there. Plus, then it takes that worry off of your mind that they're not up to code. Third, remember that most cars in Europe are manual transmissions. So if you want an automatic car, make sure that you are looking for automatic cars and renting that one specifically. If you just leave it up to a general size and doors and AC, then you are very, very likely going to get a manual transmission. If they're okay with that, that's good. If you are not okay with that, book your car early. The automatic ones always go first, so book early. Next, keep coins and a credit card and an additional backup payment method close by when you're traveling. Again, with all the toll roads, it's really easy to just have change on hand because there is a location where you can use cash or change to go through the toll roads. A credit card is another option for the different lanes, so that way you can use your credit card to just tap and go, or an additional backup method is always good to have on hand, so that way you can get through these a little faster. But that's not just for the toll roads. That's also for using for bathrooms. You need coins going to the bathrooms here. Other random machines, parking meters. These are all very good reasons to have just a little bit of cash on hand, especially a few small coins and bills. Next, build roadside stops into your itinerary. That's the whole reason why Europe is so amazing for road trips with families, because the road trip stops along the way are worth it. You don't just want to rush from point A to point B. That's just getting from here to there. That's not a trip. That's not an experience. You want to go through the experience of these road trips. So plan some extra time. Give yourself wiggle room to stop, use the bathroom, grab a coffee, enjoy a longer lunch, go park and explore a little trail along the way. Give yourself the time. Last tip is embrace the detour. That detour can include visiting a castle for your one big event for the day if you're driving. But don't underestimate the power of a little detour. You'll never know what you're going to find. The best parts of these family road trips are sometimes the ones that you don't plan. I remember some of my favorite memories along these exact same road trips are ones that we just stopped and we found something along the way. Of course, it all comes down to how much time do you have and how adventurous do you want to be. But I definitely recommend get a little lost. It's worth it. So I hope you enjoyed my 6 European road trips that all families should take, especially with kids. If you want a full guide, you can also check out the blog that's also linked below. And if you're planning a family road trip to Europe and you have some questions, leave them in the comments. I would love to help you through my years of experience doing road trips around Europe. And if I can answer any of your questions for you, I would love to help you out with that. So if this video helped you feel just a little bit more confident about traveling with kids and taking on a European road trip, I would love it if you would subscribe as well. This is just one of many trips and experiences and routes that I will be sharing throughout this channel, and I hope that you subscribe and follow along.